Okay. Hi. So I was I was just scrolling on my phone because that's what we do now. I was also okay, before that I was reading Twilight, which I will talk about when I finish because I'm actually having a great time with it. I'm reading it for book club. So not something I would normally pick for myself, and once you give in to the fact that it is written for like 13-year-old girls and you just give over to the fantasy of being a 13-year-old girl, which for me is easy to imagine because I was one back in the day. It's just the best at what it's trying to do. And I think this all these trends in like romance literature and stuff, I don't think would exist without Twilight being what it is. And I don't think anybody's been able to replicate it in quite the same way, which is just interesting. But okay, the reason that I started making this video is because I saw a clip that I was so excited about. So let's see. So far, I've talked on here about my love of literature and some like literary analysis and just storytelling, and I think the function of story and art right now. But one big side of my personality is that I love pop music, like so unironically and just so much. And I especially love K-pop. I got really, really, really into K-pop in 2020 and like just during COVID. I took K-pop dance classes when I lived in LA, and I just had the absolute best time. And I've been to some concerts, and I don't know, there were like two groups in particular I got like really into. They were both girl groups. It was Blackpink and Twice were my two that I was like super into. And if you're like a man probably watching this, you're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? Um, yeah, Korean pop music. I think it's really cool, and that's such a lame thing to say. I think it's really cool. I do. I mean, I've always loved performance, like live performance, especially with pop stuff. I don't know why, what it is. I think I was thinking about this. I was trying to like, how do I explain why I love pop so much? Because I love like, classic Britney and Gaga, and I'm not like as into those, but I do love them and appreciate them. But I think I'm most interested in pop as like a current moment. Again, like I talk about, I want to know what the larger conversation is that we're having. I want to know the things that are interesting to people and why and what we're talking about and like how it reflects where we're at in like a cultural, historical, societal moment. Like pop culture as, indicators of where we're at as a society is like really, really interesting to me. I think it's why I'm talking about the Marvel stuff and I'm interested in that and K-pop and everything. But the thing about K-pop that's really interesting is that it obviously blew up overseas decades ago. I mean, as a specific style of pop in its own country. And I know like I'm from America and we really are like in a lot of ways when it comes to pop culture, people really look to America for whatever reason. I would love to do more research about why that is. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with like golden age Hollywood stuff, whatever. But you know, K-pop has always been big in Korea and a lot of parts of Asia because it's just more local to that area. So I really got in. I got in like third generation is what it's called. There's like different generations of K-pop. I think we're on Gen 4 now. They were just starting Gen 4 when I kind of fell off. It really was just like a couple of years that I was like so into it. I don't keep up with this stuff as much anymore. I kind of want to, but I don't know. I think maybe because the third gen are they're all my age, which is maybe just why I like them more. Everybody looks too young now and it weirds me out. Anyway, I'm so many tangents because the other thing about K-pop is that they train them up really young, and it's a really brutal development process. To like, they basically these kids like go to boarding school when they're in high school, or sometimes now, especially like younger, and they go to these schools and they train like 12 hours a day every single day and have like a day off every fortnight, like every 2 weeks or something. It's wild what they put these kids through. And I don't know why, there's something so like morbidly interesting about it to me, of like, we're gonna train up the greatest pop stars in the world. And then they do. Like, you watch like BTS perform, or any of the, like Twice. Oh my God. And they're such great performers, like just very talented people. Um, just like world class performers, And so it's like, I hate to be like, what they're doing works, but, and again, like, a lot of these kids are so young and they're so passionate and they really want to be doing it and they love what they're doing. But it's just like, it's just a weird industry, and there's all kinds of stuff with eating disorders and, people just not, I mean, you can only speculate, but people don't look healthy and it's just a whole thing. Anyway, so that being said, the K-pop industry is fraught with all kinds of issues that I don't have the time or necessarily the interest to get into in this moment, because I was going to talk about something else and I've gone down a rabbit hole explaining K-pop to my computer, because I doubt anybody who's going to watch this actually cares. But anyway, the point that I was going to make, and the reason why I was going to make this video, is that I saw a clip of the choreographers of a group called Katseye performing a song that they choreographed called Gnarly. Okay, I'm assuming you know nothing, so I will explain. Katseye is an international group that was formed, I think, in 2024, is like when they debuted, but by a huge company. It's the same company that owns BTS now, which is like the biggest K-pop group ever, and one of the biggest musical acts in the world. But anyway, so I think it's Big Hit who owns them now. I could be entirely wrong. There's like all these different production companies. Anyway, but Katseye is a girl group that was formed, and it's slightly different. So they're taking the K-pop model of like this really intense training, and they have these like academy style things, like I said, boarding school, and then they have like weekly or monthly evaluations by like a board of producers, essentially, who decides when to cut them and whether or not, they're going to be added to the group. So you can imagine the stress and the pressure in that scenario put on these kids who like are not living with their families. They're kids that, trying to do school and then like train every single day hard in like dance, singing, rap, whatever, etiquette classes, stuff like that. It's just an insane lifestyle. Anyway, so they did one of those, and instead of it just being like in Korea or wherever these big production studios are, they were starting one in America for the first time. Or no, it was like they were doing an international group, but the girls trained in LA, in California, Los Angeles. You know what LA is, whatever. Anyway, but the girls are from all over the world. And so Netflix did a documentary series with them about it, which is fascinating. It's called Dream Academy. And we'll give like a little bit of insight into what this world is like and how hard it is and how heartbreaking it can be when they cut girls who've been in these programs for years. And, they're hoping to debut with all their friends that they've made. It's a whole thing. And the ones who make it and the ones who don't, like that dichotomy is just crazy. Especially now that we have social media and a lot of the girls who get cut can like have their own solo careers now. Anyway, so many tangents. Katseye is an international group. It's the first time that this company, or I guess any company, has done like an international style group. And so they have the documentary, and it's interesting because they are as manufactured in terms of like they have these huge companies making every single creative decision and what to release and when. And it's not like, a normal artist where they'll drop a whole album and then they go about, they are teasing a single song, and they will drop that song. And not only that, a music video, a dance performance video, a dance practice video. They have all these different types of videos that they release, which are variations of the same performance or the same song. And it's different performances and different ways that they're filmed. It's like this whole thing. this whole big production, and every song will have like its own aesthetic. And so Katseye is doing, that's the K-pop model, and the way that K-pop has evolved and grown, until the time I got into it, there were already these things that existed, and this whole big hype culture around a single song being released. And so Katseye is doing that, but um everything is like amped up to 100. Like they did for one of their songs that they released, it's like a 10-minute long music video slash short film that's stylized like a telenovela, and it's adorable. The acting's not great, but you're not expecting it to, because it's a girl group or whatever. But anyway, so we've had all this lead up. Katseye has debuted and is doing very well. People are really liking their stuff. A lot of it is like very similar to what we've seen, because K-pop had a whole big there's like different, oh my god, I have to explain concepts to you. I should have done just a longer K-pop video. Anyway, different concepts. Groups have different like identities. So one group is like a cutesy one group is like the badass, like, more hardcore one. That's not the right word to use, but you get it. Like they have different ideas, and the different types of music that they have, and the different sort of almost like the mood of the tone of their group is different based on these different concepts. And then within the individual groups, you can have different archetypes that all the different people feel. It's a whole thing. But anyway, so Katseye has mostly, it like originally when they were first releasing, it was a little bit more just like classic girl group, like cute, sweet, still cool, kind of thing. And then they put out a song called Gnarly. That's what I'm 12 minutes into this. That's what I wanted to talk about, is the song Gnarly and the choreography and this one video that I saw. So Gnarly, the thing about Gnarly is that when it first came out, I had to take a deep breath. I'm like out of breath from talking, because I just love info dumping about the things that I'm passionate about, and that's why I really wanted to start doing these videos, to be honest. So there you go. Anyway, okay, what was I saying? I was talking about, I'm high again. Can you tell? Great thing for me to be posting on the internet. Anyway, oh my god. Okay, so I was talking about Katseye and Gnarly. So, this song, when it first came out, it got a lot of flack for like, people were like, the lyrics don't make any sense and they're stupid. And it's like kind of an aggressive beat. It's like, it's not a super catchy, like listenable song at first, where, a lot of classic K-pop stuff is just like super catchy, or there's just something about it that's like really, pleasant to listen to. And Gnarly is not one of those songs. And I don't know enough about music to say like what type of music it is, if that makes sense. It's got to be some kind of electronic music, I assume, like I could be totally wrong about that. Anyway, but kind of like an aggressive first listen, not super pleasant. So there's that going. And then just the whole concept is so, mind you, it's still pretty like classically cute, like the way the girls are dressed. Like, they're not wearing the most clothes in the world, which they should be because they're quite young. But that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, but it's just a little bit weird. Like, just the concept is a little bit more out there. And with the combination of all of these things, at first people were like, what is Gnarly? There's this move where one of the girls is standing in the front of the line, and she just like licks. It doesn't look cool when I do it, but like that. And people were like, what is she doing? Blah, blah, blah. This is so weird. And then some time passed, and the initial like weirdness of it wore off, and people went, wait, this is cool. You know what it was too? It was the performances. When people could see them doing the choreography with the music, they were like, oh, this is a song that's meant to be performed live. And that was part of it too, because they're also such great performers and have such great stage presence. And the fun thing about Gnarly is that it's still a character. Like, K-pop has kind of always been a character. Like, in the past, especially for the girls, it's been a lot of like very cutesy, like kind of thing, which I know weirds some people out in the same way that anime can kind of weird some people out, which I totally get, so it's fine. Um anyway, but yeah, so it's not like a character we've seen before. It's them being very like, the only word, and this is going to make some people uncomfortable, the only word I can use to describe it is cunty. It's cunty. And like, if you don't know, the gays and the ladies have reclaimed the word cunt to mean actually very cool and awesome, and just like not only like cool, but like kind of edgy a little bit. I could be describing this completely wrong, but that's just kind of how I understand it. Of like, yeah, like if I see a girl who's wearing an outfit that is just so cool, and like I saw this girl at the movie theater and I think I made her uncomfortable, and I'm so sorry to this girl. But it was like the weekend the new Tron movie came out, and she was wearing a black and red leather racing jacket. It was so cool. And then she had on these red, like Blade Runner looking sunglasses. And I said, "You look cunty as hell." And she looked at me like I was an alien. So I'm sorry. I meant that as the highest of compliments. I misread that situation because I thought if you're going to wear that outfit, you're going to know that I mean this is a huge compliment. But she did not. So anyway, gnarly is very that. Like, it is in your face, aggressive, but you're like, hell yeah. I sound like such a nerd talking about this right now, but it's true. Anyway, so this is how I feel. Um, yeah, so gnarly was like, it's okay, it's cool in the way that like, okay, because this is something else that I've been trying to get to the center of. Like, why am I feel like my whole life I've been like, what's cool? Like, what do people think is cool? I've worked very hard to try and be like a cool person, because I'm sure, as you can tell, I didn't have a lot of friends when I was a kid. I was kind of a loser, and I still am. I'm just better at hiding it, you know. But anyway, so I love this idea of like what's cool. So going back to talking about pop culture and like the things that are really driving culture, that are sort of accepted as like the trendy, interesting, like kind of hot thing. That was always really interesting to me. So, and the thing about K-pop is that I feel like they manufactured cool. I don't know how they did it. Like, people have been trying to do this for so long. They figured out what was like the next cool pop culture thing that was going to always make people be like yes and want to replicate that and like have that be part of their brand and stuff. And K-pop has figured that out, which is so fascinating to me. So anyway, gnarly is very much that encapsulated, because I've had people in my life who are not as interested in this thing as I am. They just, if it's cool, they'll hear about it in a little bit. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. It's just how it is, So anyway, I had one of my friends be like, I am obsessed with Katseye now, and I watched their whole documentary, and I whatever, and it felt like the sweater scene in Devil Wears Prada. If that makes any sense to you, you know what I mean, obviously. But I was like, oh, it's found its way to you. Like, that's so interesting. And I know a lot of that has to do with social media and the algorithms, and but it's interesting to see how Katseye has grown in the US and to people who now are hearing about the like K-pop style group for the very first time. That's fascinating, because when I got really into it a few years ago, I was like, give it a minute, this is gonna blow up in the US. Again, that's the only like frame of reference that I have, because I live in the US, unfortunately. But it was just, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so huge in a couple years. I just know it. So it's cool, like, seeing that I was kind of able to have an eye on that. But anyway, there was a video that I saw, a clip that I saw of the two choreographers of Gnarly dancing it. Because the thing that was really interesting when the song first came out is everybody's reactions to the fact that they weren't doing like classically pretty dance moves or facial expressions, like it's very like like it's supposed to be, that's the vibe. But people are so used to, especially K-pop fans are so used to seeing the girls just play like pretty, I'm pretty, that's what I'm doing, again, which is like cute and fun, or whatever, or it's very like I'm sexy, it's one of those two. But to see them again still looking incredibly conventionally attractive by every standard, um and all of that, like seeing them kind of give a little bit of like to the camera, um the whole time, and to have people be like that's weird and then go, wait, this is actually really, I get it, this is cool, this is so sick. um how cool is that? I don't know. I just, pop culture is fascinating to me, and I don't know why. So you already had people having that reaction to the girls do it, and then you see the clip of the choreographers doing it. Let me see if the meme, or not the meme, but like the video. Yeah, it's still up on my I was watching YouTube Shorts. There you go. So the uh text that's over top of the video in this is Daniela, who's one of the girls in the group, is doing way too much, and that's probably specifically in reference to her like doing that thing, right? And then it says literally katseye choreographers, and it's over the video. So because they are doing 100 times more than even the girls are doing in the performances of it, like they go so hard and they're so cunty, and I love them. Like, I don't know if you can see the facial expression. Yes, he's going all in, and I just love that. And so it's just interesting seeing, like, as someone who really enjoys being creative and is very interested in the idea of like tastemaker, like what does it mean to be a tastemaker, what does it mean to latch onto this part of culture that people find so fascinating, and it's also so lucrative too, in a way that's kind of scary. But like people who are able to latch onto that and innovate, like I've had friends who are involved in the tech industry and are really interested in innovation in terms of like technological innovation. I'm fascinated in like cultural, that, but cultural. I've lost my train of thought. This is a little spring, I assume, from a pen that's been on my desk. I've been messing with it. Anyway, so I think that's the only point I wanted to make, is just that I find the fact that these choreographers and the people, the creative team behind Katseye and all of these K-pop groups, are able to like figure out what's cool, and then like kind of pave the way with what's cool. That feels like such a lame description of what I'm trying to. It feels like what John Hughes did in the 80s. Do you know what I mean? Of like with something like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or The Breakfast Club, like people looked at, I feel like that's one of the only times I can remember an example of somebody like driving pop culture forward so much. I know Britney Spears did that 100%. I'm sure like a billion other examples that I just am not thinking of right now, or uh you know, maybe Fleetwood Mac, but just I can't think of anything like that so much mass culture looks back at and it's like that was so cool. Thinking of like Indiana Jones maybe, or like Star Wars, but I don't know if they're capturing the same feeling that I'm thinking of, uh anyway, I guess that's all I had to say. I feel like I said multiple things in this video that could be kind of problematic, but I mean well. I clearly really love K-pop. This will not be the last you hear me talk about K-pop, because I would love to do some more research and do like a full breakdown, just explainer of like what that industry is for people who don't know about it, because it's fascinating to me, just the whole culture around it, and there's such an industry around it. It's the only kind of industry I'm interested in, to be honest with you, because everything else is so bleak. Not that I'm particularly attached to the idea of industry in the first place. There you go. Okay. I need to be done because I don't have anything else to talk about. So, bye for now.